Illinois lawmakers are forcing the Bears to punt on legislation, I should say, to help them fund their new Arlington Heights stadium.
Yeah, the lawmakers are set to go back to work tomorrow at the state capitol for their fall veto session. The Bears aren't on the docket, but things like transit funding and the cost of insurance and energy are. Here's what Governor Pritzker had to say about some of those things.
I'm very hopeful that a transit bill will, in fact, appear in the legislature in the veto session and will get voted on. We've been working with the legislature, listening to them. They're crafting the bill. We've been helping them with that process, but it's going to be up to the legislature to bring it up and vote on it. The Senate has already, although obviously that bill not yet acceptable to people in the House, and I think there are changes that are needed, and so I think we're going to see something, but again, we've got to see the leaders and the members step up.
The funding mechanism is what the disputes were partially around. Do you anticipate a final package having rideshare taxes, delivery fees as sort of funding mechanisms to fund this?
Look, I can't speak to those specific methods. What I can say is you got to fund things that you need, right? We need downstate transit dollars. We need dollars for northern Illinois as well, as we know, RTA, CTA, PACE, and you can't, the money doesn't come from nowhere. You've got to, somehow you've got to pay for these things. I know Republicans don't typically like to. They think you can just, do away with revenue, but everything's going to get paid for anyway. No, that leads to deficits, which is what we saw under the prior Republican governor.
You have said that the Bears, perhaps, you might support this property tax certainty bill that they're asking for if the Bears pay off the nearly $500 million debt that Soldier Field still has on the renovation. Is the team actually receptive to that, or will there be negotiations on having them do that, perhaps?
I think the point I was trying to make was simply that we can't leave the taxpayers on the hook for something that the teams ultimately were supposed to be paying for. And so I wanted to make sure the Bears knew that for us to move forward and to help them with infrastructure funding, for example, or a pilot bill that they're looking to get passed, we need to know that whatever deal gets struck here is something that does not cost the taxpayers any more than it already has. And I really believe that we've got to protect our taxpayers from the idea that they're going to pay for stadiums for, for billionaire owners or billion-dollar teams.
And that was part of our interview with Governor Pritzker yesterday, Sunday, which, of course, we talked a lot about the ICE raids and the things that have happened the last few days. You can find that full interview on our website or on the Fox Local app. But, Tia, it sounds like the Bears, they're just not going to get what they want in this veto session, despite their president saying this is what they were targeting.
It sounds like ultimately what you heard Governor Pritzker say there is that he feels like they should pay for some of this. They are the purse holders here, and they have the money, so they should be the ones on the hook for some of that money.
They're worth billions and billions of dollars.
Yes.
Well, what do you say? The bill in question is to give them the ability to negotiate property taxes. So that could save them tens of millions of dollars.
Right.
And Pritzker is saying, hold off. We're not going to, push that bill until you think about paying off the Soldier Field debt. Which was the renovation of Soldier Field. We're still paying that off as a city, over the decades because it was very expensive and there's a lot of debt there.
I was expecting him to answer that straight on in that interview, which he kind of worked around it a little bit, but I think at the same time did confront that as an issue, which we know obviously is a huge part of this. So we'll have to watch and see how this shakes out.
He's kind of like using it as leverage here. You want what you want, well, then you're going to have to put some skin in the game on Soldier Field.